That is one flash setup you've got there, Benny.
Yeah. Thank you.
See a lot of audio equipment there.
Yeah, it's another hobby from me. I play in a band and do some songs recording in here for home recording for the first demos.
I'm very, very impressed. That almost shows up Mr. Wiidevil's flash setup he's got.
You could set a cardboard box on fire and you'd beat my setup. So not really. Doesn't say a lot about mine. Oh dear, what have I done with that? That'll do. Right, 2:00 it is. Shall we get started, gents?
We shall.
Shall we figure out what we're doing?
I believe I am live. Yep, ready.
Lovely. Start posting some links there in people's chats. Happy days, happy days. Well, what we have episode 34, I believe, of the DayZ podcast. So we are rocking and rolling. We are getting there. Before long, we're going to be at our year anniversary. I haven't worked out what date that's going to be yet, but I can only imagine that's going to get interesting, to say the least. Let me just adjust my webcam ever so slightly. I think I probably made it worse, but never mind. I'm a pro, honest. But ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 34 of the DayZ podcast. Quickly before we start, I do want to give one quick shout out. A happy birthday to Rav Plays.
Yes,
his birthday
19.
Today. 19. Now he falls under the same category for me as Milo in a positive way, in that I didn't realize either of them were so young, and it's making me feel really fucking old.
Yeah,
because there's just coming up about 10 years between me and Rav Plays.
Yep.
The talent in the community seems to be getting younger and younger now.
It
mad, does.
Isn't it?
Mate, all these mental. Young guys, bloody, you know, how old are you, Benny?
What? Sorry,
how old are you, mate?
Oh, something about 41, if I'm correct.
You're 41.
41. Yeah, really.
Wow. But yeah, just the young guys just. They've grown up with all this technology that we saw evolve. They've had it at their fingertips all this time, so it doesn't surprise me how good some of them are. Brim,
it's mad, isn't it? But it dawned on me the other night as well when you have guys like Milo. For me, like knowing when all that drama stuff kicked off, and I sort of because I never really looked into the guy. I knew of him, I knew the name, I'd played on one of his servers before, and that was about it. That was all I knew. Seen a couple of his videos, that was it. And I didn't realize until that all kicked off that he was as young as he is. And it made me think like he must have been running those servers since he was fairly young then, because at the time of that, he was sort of 18, 19, sort of coming up that sort of age when we spoke to him. So it boggles my mind that there are so many young people of that sort of age range, if you like, that sort of 16 to 25 age range who you don't realize are in that age range because they're so they are so advanced, so to speak. They are so ahead of it. They are so popular. Guys like Rav, for example, that if you had asked me how old do you think Rav Plays, I would have said maybe early to mid 20s, but I would have easily put him closer to the 24, 25 years old mark.
Yeah.
But then to find out, because I saw it on his Twitter that it was his birthday and he was 19, I was like, fuck's sake. Now I do feel old. I can only imagine how you feel, Boyd, being 112, but it's still.
How old are you?
I'm 47.
Ah, that's fine.
Yeah. But I act like I'm 74.
Saying nothing. But let's get on with the proper festivities. Let's get on with the proper festivities.
We would stop aging at 27.
Yeah.
Oh, my aging just my physical aging just went off by the time I hit sort of 25. I hit 25, and by the time I was 26, I looked 45. So it's all right. Kind of works out. Where are we at? There we are. So episode 34 of the podcast. I am Brimstone Live as always, joined by Boydie and Wiidevil as always. And today's special guest, Benni, the creator and the creative genius, if you don't mind, behind the Deer Isle modded map. I've got a lot of people who are very happy and very interested in having you on because I help run a server with a Deer Isle map. And one of our topics today, in fact, is that there seems to be quite a lot of Deer Isle related servers going on at the moment. So this is very exciting. So why don't you start by telling us a bit about yourself, Benni? Tell us about your background and things.
Okay. As far as you know, I'm 41. I'm from Germany. And I think the first time I got into modding was 1994 with the Doom editor utilities on the MS-DOS box.
Wow.
These were the first levels I've created since then. But okay, the island for now, I started 2 years ago. The first days it was just some small project where I just I'm first of all, I'm sorry, it's so long time ago I've speaking English, so some words may be missing, but I try to do my best to explain everything I can.
That's
It's
all right.
just a kind of lack of vocabulary.
You speak better English than last week's guest, that's for sure.
If I remember the correct words, then I can speak them, but yeah. Besides the modding, I do some home recording for our band, in which I play with two friends of mine. For the last 10 years, we do some kind of English and German punk rock. But unfortunately, since we all are over 40 now, the other band members have now families and kids, so we don't have enough time like the last 10 years. So it's enough time, spare time for me left for modding and such stuff.
And what was your sort of inspiration, if you like? Obviously, I've seen through the Discord and through your website, and you say that Deer Isle is based in a real location. What was your sort of your influence on starting that? What made you want to go down that route and do that?
Some years ago, I tried modding on Arma and creating some Terra and maps there, but unfortunately, I couldn't get into it. It feels so hard and it was so buggy, and I couldn't get into the stuff to get the tools working, and I quit again. And when DayZ and Bohemian released the editor tools, I thought, hey, come, let's try it again. But you need a place you want to rebuild. So I had a look on Google Earth, and I was just scrolling all over the world and zooming in for islands, because I think an island is much easier to implement and looks nicer because you don't have the hard terrain borders around there. Because, you know, in channels, when you go to the north or to the west, you got these infinity land up there. You can walk in, but you can't build in there, and it's always looking quite ugly because you don't have any trees or something like that. So I decided it must be an island because you don't have those map borders at all. And while I was zooming around Maine, USA up there, I found the place. It looked quite nice. It's got nearly the same dimensions like Generous does, with 60 kilometers side length. And so I decided, come on, let's try it. And I started it. Yeah.
Awesome. And how much of how difficult has that been over the last couple of years? Because I remember when Deer Isle first came out, you only had at that time, there was only one server running the Deer Isle map, and that was the Deer Isle experimental server that anyone could come on and play. And I remember playing that way back when it first came out, and to see that progression, it's so different now. You've done so much work in what seems to be such a short period of time. How much of a difficulty has that been to get it from where it was to where it is today?
Unfortunately, the DayZ tools are not quite funny to work with. I've been doing other things before in Unity, some small jump and runs 2D shooters, and Unity in comparison to the DayZ tools are completely different, and everyone knows who's working with the DayZ tools, how buggy, unstable, and kind of bitchy those kind of software is. And when they released the tools in November 2 years ago, I think it was at the time, there was nearly no documentation. And the hard thing was to get into it and get the correct settings to work, because nobody knew how you need those settings for DayZ to make a good looking map. But luckily, maybe you know that the Chiemsee map also is done
Yeah.
by Lugge. It's a friend of mine. We met 2 years ago in the DayZ modding Discord, and we got became friends and
Nice.
shared all the information we could gather around creating those maps. So sometimes he had some tricks and new stuff I didn't know, and so we shared every information we could get to get all those tools working.
Brilliant.
And unfortunately, there are so less new maps. I really want to see much more new maps upcoming,
Yeah.
but I think about 90% or more of the persons who start creating a map quit because they really underestimate the time needed creating such a world when you want to have nice little details and eye candy spots. And I think the most important thing in the last 2 years was just you don't have to work 10 hours a day on a map, but you have to work constantly on it. Even it's just 1 hour, or sometimes you do just little stuff, but it's really important that you just stick on the project day by day over those 2 years, because it's really so time consuming.
Yeah. And obviously we know as well that you stream a lot of your modding, a lot of your development on
Yeah.
DRL as well on your own sort of Twitch channel. So what's that been like, as far as you've got sort of a very unique sort of perspective into the community that follow you because you do that. You know, you've got your DRL Discord, but being that you stream, you actually sitting and developing the map. How do you feel that benefits you when it comes to obviously your community and showing people the different things that you sort of have to do to go forward with the map?
You know, in the first place, I am building this map for me.
Yeah.
Because and not for some person else, because I want to have a place where I can walk around with my player and just like and see and build those stuff I want to have in a game. And
Yeah.
sometimes it's a little bit hard to communicate this to the people in the Discord, because sometimes there are some people who say, no, you have to fix this first and you have to rebuild this mountain like this. And I say, no, don't take it personal. I don't care in this case, because I think my solution is nicer than your idea. I'm always open for ideas and inputs about improving the map. But underline, I don't care if other people don't agree with my decisions. And this was not easy when I start streaming, because when you show the people what you are working on right now, you get so much input from them through the chat where they say, oh, you're building this, oh, try this and move this there. And so it's much more relaxing if you build on the map without streaming. Most
Yeah.
of the time I just stream when I know I do easy work where it's not so important to do some kind of decisions.
How many hours have you put into DRL?
I've looked into my Steam account 1 hour ago, and Steam is saying about 4,600 hours.
Wow.
Wow.
That is a lot. That is a
Okay,
lot.
So, but this is not just mapping in the Terra builder. This is all kind of modding or mapping I do. So it's time which went into photoshopping, Blender, Terra builder, and other software tools. But it's the time which got into the map. Yeah.
I have a question. If you've put that amount of time in so far, without putting a deadline or anything on yourself, how far would you say you are from calling it what you would call complete, or what you feel
Okay.
you would be finished with?
When I started, my goal was to finish the map this year. I thought for myself, okay, 2 years would be enough time to put all my ideas into it. But at the moment right now, I would say I need another year to go.
So
Because,
years, not months.
Yeah.
yeah.
So, okay. So as you've been developing it, have you kept adding more sort of tasks for yourself to do? Like the more you've done, have you? Oh, actually, I'm going to add this now as well.
Feature creep.
Or are you still just trying to build the initial vision you had for it?
No,
Or has it
it's
changed?
always changing. It's always changing.
Yeah.
Because there are some kind of work you have to do which is getting very boring over the time. I think the most boring stuff is building some kind of standard village, put a house and some fence around it and a road. And this is really, really boring to do. And this is also the case why some locations like the latest K-Muke underground military complex or other special eye candy places went in, because I didn't like building the standard stuff over and over, and you need some change, something
Variation.
which keeps you going. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm always switching and just working on that where I have fun working on, because in other case it would be some kind of work, and I don't want to be modding feeling like work. So I'm always
Yeah.
switching just the stuff I have fun with. I know there are plenty of bugs and locations which have to be fixed, but unfortunately, the map is very big. I'm doing this on my own, and so sometimes some things just take really, really long, so I can fix them because there's so much things to do, and always new stuff coming in, like the temple. Maybe this was some kind of location which got into because I was bored building the old stuff over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
Well, to be fair, I think you should get bored more often, because
Yeah.
some of the locations you've created, you say they're like the temple, the underground military complex and things like that. There's a lot of places like that on the map that are so unique that you don't see anywhere else. You can only find those types of areas on Deer Isle. A lot of people will try to recreate things like that or do their own versions of that. But I've noticed over the years that nothing seems to really come as close to it as Deer Isle. And being that I help run a server running the Deer Isle map, I get the opportunity to go into admin mode, into free cam, and have a really
Yeah.
good look around and see all the different niche little things, the cool little Easter eggs that you've popped in
Yeah.
there and things. And there's so many different things that it would take years to actually find them all.
Yeah, and it's so much fun to put those kind of Easter eggs into, because I'm a gamer for years now, and I grew up with a Nintendo Entertainment System and all the other consoles coming afterwards. And so it's so fun if you have the possibility, when you have an own project like the Diale map, where you can put those Easter eggs from old games into, and maybe you've found one or two on the map yet.
And what was it that sort of inspired you to make the KMUC, the underground military bunker? Because I only found that about 2 or 3 weeks ago, because I happened to fly over that area in free cam and spotted that there was something different there that I hadn't noticed before. So looked
Okay.
into it, and that whole key card access door system that you've got there is, I've never seen anything like that before.
When I'm working on the map, I'm always trying to put different kind of biomes in there.
Yeah.
So you have those changes for the player where they can play if it's the temple or later on the Snorri Island, which will be introduced next year, but it's currently laid out. You can go there, but there's no trees and stuff like that. And the idea of the Camo came when I put the mountain in there. In the first versions of the island, there wasn't no mountain at all there.
Yeah.
But then I got bored and thought, hey, you need something big. So let's put a really, really big mountain in there. And when I had the mountain, I knew players like if they have some kind of underground stuff they don't find on the official maps. And so I built the mountain intentionally so high that I knew, okay, I can use this all 500 meters highness of the mountain to put something very deep military base kind of stuff in there. But it took about 6 or 7 months until I could really start working on the Camo project because I want to have finished other areas first. But it should be some kind of endgame-like area. So you, as you said, you have a key card you need to find somewhere, but you can. It depends on the server owner's configuration where they want to have the key card spawned. But the Camo, was intentionally some kind of raiding World of Warcraft area where you have to go down a deep way, and you shouldn't survive the first time you go there. So yeah.
It's such an incredible location as well because, like you say, with the size of the mountain, it is such a chore to get there in the first place. So when, as a player, when you do get there, it seems like an achievement just to get there, regardless of whether you've got the key card and can actually get in there. It's such a large area, and I know you were saying there about the snowy area as well. What if you can, without spoiling anything for your future plans, what is it that you're hoping to achieve with the snowy side of the mountain as well?
To be honest, I have no idea right now. This will come when I get bored again on another project. While I'm working on those different areas, I'm always thinking of what can I do with the other stuff around, even if I don't actually working on it. So I know that at some point a cool idea will pop up, which I can put on this cold, snowy area.
Yeah, because it's quite a beautiful area as it is, because it's obviously with that right at the waterfront, you've got that big sort of statue of the lady there that
Yeah.
looks like the figurehead on the front of old ships, So it's quite an interesting area, and I think now with the 110 update getting ready to come out for DayZ and that changing things, having that more cold and having different clothing items that will impact how cold you
Yeah.
can get and things like that. How do you foresee that impacting your development of that area of your map?
I definitely want to have some kind of game-changing temperature clothing stuff going on up there, but I'm not really good at coding. So I always have to look for the skilled people in the modding community. But there are so much people out there which can do this kind of stuff for you. But I definitely want to have some changes of the temperature up there. I'm not going into so deep like Sumrek is going with Namalsk and temperature and clothing stuff handling there. But I think it would be possible to do some kind of script that if players arrive there, you can drop the base temperature maybe about 10 degrees or something like that. So at least you need some clothing, warming stuff or heat packs to go up there.
I'm sure there's some changes in vanilla in 1.10 or
Hmm.
110, whatever you want to call it. I'm sure there's some changes coming that are doing this. I'm sure I read it.
Yeah,
So
there was something about the temperature
temperature
change and clothing
variation is
stuff
your
working. Yeah.
yeah, and temperature changes to do with height as well, I think.
Yeah, so it's going to be out. I think it's going to be altitude based, because when I read the patch notes originally, it said that if you're trying to go to somewhere like Tissy, for example, being that it's at the very top of the map and it's quite high up altitude wise, you will need warmer clothing than if you're running around on the coast or even just going inland to somewhere like Northwest Airfield. So that's really going to add in a lot of dynamics for a lot of people
Yeah.
that we've not really had before. And like you say, with the Deer Isle map, excuse me, having that snowy area and having that big mountain, having that temperature change is really going to change the way a lot of people will play the game, and especially play on that map.
Yeah, but in the end, it really depends on the server owner's configuration of what kind of gameplay they have set up. Since there are so many players who are out there for just quick and fast PvP, others
Yeah.
for roleplay, others for real surviving. But for the real surviving players, I think it will be a really good and nice addition. Maybe not as for the PvP, but I think this is the really nice thing about the DayZ and the mapping and tools, that everyone can use this setup and game for its own imagination they want to have, or what kind of gameplay they want to have. There was some thread or the discussion going on in the DayZ modding community where some people said, "Oh, I'm so sick of seeing all those colored and blinky anime stuff, items and disco light stuff in there. We need real surviving stuff. We need more military." And I don't really agree with this, because that's the point, that you can set up your server and your gameplay and the map like you want to have it. And if you don't like this setup, just use another server.
Very true.
Yeah, I think that's where we're quite lucky in the DayZ community now, that there are, I mean, we kind of say it every week on the podcast, there's so many different servers out there now
Yeah.
with so many different gameplay styles. You've got, you've got Boydie's server, Dean's Beans, with that really hardcore side of it. You've got Ben's server, the Blue Waffle Attack Force, where you've got more of a raid and PvP, and you've got Futile,
Disco
which I
lights.
help run. Yeah, with disco lights. And you got Futile, which is the one I help run, which is more role play and PvE focused, with some PvP thrown in there for fun. There is such a, and when you include all these maps, you, like you say, you've got DRR, you've got Chim C. There's a lot of new maps coming out now. There's a lot of different ones that that are really fun to explore. Yeah, Essica's on its way out, hopefully.
Yeah.
And
Also great looking, really
Yeah.
great looking.
And if you go on the DayZ standalone launcher, you can actually look through the list of maps, and it will show you servers that only run those maps. And the list now is just getting bigger and bigger every day. There's so many new modded maps coming up. Some of them are obviously at the very start of their of their development, and some of them are a bit further on, like Deer Isle. But we really are spoilt for choice now in what we can do and what we can play on.
I think I've met 2 people this week that are setting up DayZ servers at the moment.
Yeah, there seems to be a lot, and that is one of our topics today as well. Is there does seem to be quite a few showing up now. I know Happy Bombs has recently opened up a 0 Deer Isle, if I'm not mistaken, and it seems to be a map that's sort of hit its popularity quite quickly again. It seems to have had that big uptick. Have you noticed that as well, Benny? That more servers seem to be running your map now?
Yeah, it's getting more and more. I'm not looking every day or every week for the amount of servers running, but maybe once a month I really look how much people and server owners are hosting the map, because of course it's nice to see if the people seem to like the stuff you're working on or you are building. And when more and more servers are popping up with the island map, it seems that the map is doing it the right way.
Is that adding more pressure for you though, mate?
No, because like I said earlier, it's this kind of that I say I don't care about what other people say about the map and what they want to have on it.
good way to do it.
Yeah, at the
Really
end of the
put it
day, I
up.
think you see that a lot, don't you, in sort of the gaming community and the Twitch community, is people say that if you want growth and you want the success, do things for you, and that
Yeah,
success will
yeah,
eventually come to you. And I don't always agree with that in a way. I think there are ways to do things that are going to help you more than others in certain situations. But I think at the end of the day, as long as you're happy and you're doing what
yeah,
you enjoy doing, then I think that will translate to the audience or to the player base of a map or things
yeah.
like that. You know, it will come across, and you will ultimately have a more positive experience and a more polished product at the end of the day.
Yeah, definitely. You should have an open ear for ideas what other players or people say. Of course, definitely. But in the end, if you work for what other people wants to have, you can't do this about 2 years if you just work for others.
Yeah.
So this is why you have really to build it for you so that you like it, you enjoy it, but you also enjoy it if other people like your decisions in the end too. So
Yeah. Yeah, it feels good to see someone else enjoying something that you've worked so hard and enjoyed creating yourself. But what's it been like for you when it comes to the Dear Isle Discord? Because trying to curate obviously all the people's opinions and trying to get that constructive feedback of, look, there's areas of the map that aren't finished, there are these bits that I don't like. What's it like for you with having that community in the Discord, giving the feedback, and how has that sort of helped with everything?
When it comes to bugs and installation setup problems about the island and server configurations, luckily the community can help each other out because there are so much, as you said, servers right now out there. So they know how to set up and give those information to others who ask in the Discord. So I don't have to care about helping other people's server configuration running. But on the other side, for the basic configuration, there's some Deer Island Wikipedia page up where I have the most basic information of how to get the map running on. But when it comes to bugs and installations, so the community help each other out. But I think the island has now about over 100,040 subscribers. I don't know exactly. There are so many people which have which think they want to talk to you because they have some specific kind of problem. And this is why I also disabled my privacy settings on Discord because, like you
Yeah.
said, on your Twitter messages before, I would get about 50, 16 messages a day, and you can't answer all messages you can get via Discord because there wouldn't be any time left to mod on the map. So most of the time, I just ignore those kind of messages. And when it comes to some discussions within the Discord, maybe that some people get upset about themselves and there's some chatty fighting going on, I sometimes want to write something to it, but I learned the best solution is don't write anything because it just won't go up there and there and there and there, and it just leads to some, I don't know, unnecessary
Just kind
discussion.
of
So
just
I
kind of
just leave
escalate.
it as
Sounds
far as
like
I
my
can. Yeah.
Discord every day. This.
Yeah. Well, that's the one thing I noticed is that there's a weird sort of 50-50 almost between with the Dear Isle Discord. If you've got, well, in fact, it's more skewed than that. There's probably about, I would say, 80, maybe 90% of the posts in the Dear Isle Discord are people just having general conversations. How have you been? Things like that, and other people helping, saying, look, this is how you fix this issue, and things like that. And then you have that small minority that are still so vocal that are posting straight away and tagging you in it and DMing you and things. And for me, whenever I join a new Discord, I don't know how everyone else does it, but when I join a new Discord, the first thing I do is read the rules. And maybe
Yeah.
I'm just a square. Maybe I'm just an idiot for this. But I
It seems
always
so.
read the rules, and if a rule says do not ping an admin, do not DM an admin, then I don't
Yeah.
do those things. But it seems like there's so many people sometimes that just cannot read and understand and stick to such a simple rule, and that's what confused me, because me and you had obviously spoken about having you come on the podcast, and I'd been able to DM you on Discord, and then earlier on in the week I tried again and it come up saying that I couldn't, and I was like, what on earth is that? And that
Here's
really confused me.
I just sometimes enable my privacy settings again, so everyone can private message me, but only to get in contact with other modders or persons I need to.
Yeah.
And sometimes I just forget to switch it back, like in
Yeah.
this case. So you are lucky to message the first one where it was open, but then I closed it again because of this really massive amount of messages that would be
Yeah.
coming in.
I put
Yeah, I was
that
gonna
down
say
to that
you've been quite
sense of
busy.
entitlement of people. I want my free software fixed ASAP. How dare you not
Oh,
listen
yeah.
to me? I'm wait, I'm not a paying customer. This is free. This is being done out of the goodness. Some people need to remember that.
Yeah, sometimes I would say about once in 2 months, there's one person who is acting like this, who is trying to tell you what you have to do because you are the mapper and I, the player, encountered those and those bugs, which I'm telling you right now, and you have to fix them now because you have to care about your community. What would you be without your community? And they really get angry. And I would say once in 2 months, there's such a person coming up.
That's a good ratio.
To be fair, yeah, I mean, it's sad that there are people that
Is it
have
worse
that.
on the game servers?
It
Yeah.
can be.
Can be, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for our server, we've got our Discord set up where if you have an issue, whether it be for the DayZ server, the Rust server, for any game we run a server on, we say create a ticket. There is a ticket system in the Discord. Create a ticket, tell us what the issue is, and then the only people that can see that ticket is admins and the person who opened it. It's not open to anyone to view. And
Yeah.
that way, an admin who is available and free at that time can get the issue fixed, and it's done quicker. Whereas if you were to like DM one of us, because I live in the UK, the guy who runs our server lives in Taiwan. One of our other admins lives, I think, on the west coast of America.
Yeah.
So, it's pot luck as to if you DM one of us, is one of us going to be awake at those different days, times of the day to help. And the amount of times over the last month and a half that we have had to literally say to people, if you DM me again, I am banning you, because people just do not listen. They will literally just be like, they'll DM an admin and say, I couldn't figure out how to create a ticket, so I'm just going to DM you, even though they've opened a ticket before and it's worked fine and we haven't changed anything. And
Yeah.
they just want that quick. They think that they're entitled because they're playing on the server. Maybe they've donated to a Patreon or something, or whatever's the case is. They believe they're entitled to that extra sense of of customer service in a way. And it honestly, it does my head in. It's one of my absolute pet peeves that people just cannot read and use common sense enough just to use the system that's set out for a reason. I don't know how you do it, because I deal with it maybe once, twice a week at the most. I'm sure Ben running Blue Waffle as well probably has a similar thing going on at times, if not more so. And I don't know how anybody can deal with the amount of it that happens, because it's just I'm very customer service focused generally. I will give the most professional reply to a DM when it's so unnecessary, when it's just a friendly DM. But the second anything like that happens, I just can't. I just have to hold my tongue, because otherwise I'm gonna end up saying something that I really don't
Yeah.
think I should say. It's things that I want to say and know that need to be said, but I'd still just like, nope, I can't call this person this name because I shouldn't. But it's so difficult not to sometimes.
Yeah, definitely. Since in the end, what sometimes the people forget, that it would be easier for them, and sometimes they get an answer much faster if they don't send a private message to an admin
Yeah.
instead of just posting to the public forum, because there are much more people out there. So maybe one of them knows the answer much faster than an admin would do. And if and sometimes if the players can't get in contact with you over Discord, they tried another way. Instead of writing you messages over the Patreon site or the website or the wiki to get in contact with you when they can't on Discord. So they're looking and searching for other ways to private message you. And when such message arrives sometimes over another way, I just write them back, please post this message again in the public Discord. I don't do any support here on this way.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's good to have that sort of distinction between what you can and cannot do. Like you say, don't DM me here because I can't help you here. Do it here
Yeah.
because there's, like you say, with your Discord, there's so many people that are so well versed in the DRR map and the modding community who know just as much, maybe even more so than others. And just like you
Yeah.
say, just posting in that public forum, you could have 3 or 4 people suddenly jump up and say, "Look, I know how to fix that. Here's the steps you need." And then you'll get that reaction a lot quicker, and you'll get things fixed a lot quicker. And like you say, if someone's DMing you at 3 o'clock in the morning, you're fast asleep. There's nothing you can do about that. Whereas if they had just posted in the public forum, they would have got an answer.
Yeah.
It boggles my mind. But what can we expect theoretically, without giving any spoilers that you don't want to give? What can we expect for Deer Isle in the future? Because I know you've said that you want to do more stuff on the east side of the map. There's a lot of like Sheep Island and stuff like that that are still sort of under development. What's your sort of plan for the future?
Currently, I'm working on a small archipel. I don't know if this is the right word. A group of little islands.
Yeah.
So some tropical flair, I would say, even if we don't have the right vegetation, like palm trees or coconuts, unfortunately, but maybe someday later. But this is an area I'm currently working on in the northwest part of the map, at least when we can introduce boats someday, because unfortunately the expansion boats are still too buggy to use for real safe gameplay.
Yeah.
But like I heard, the expansion team is going to split up the boat and the heli into a separate mod on Steam, I think. Is it
Yeah,
true?
I think they're working on making the vehicles client side. I think they said they want to make it so the vehicles are a separate mod to the rest of the expansion
Yeah,
mod, so that they can work on fixing them a little bit quicker and easier without risking
yeah.
making trouble for other parts of the mod, which I think is a
Mm.
very smart idea.
Yeah, because the island would really improve when we have working and safe boats on it.
Yeah.
Because all this little island and the new islands coming up now, they offer such nice places where you could drive with your boat, and I really think the map would improve if we have someday working boats on it.
Yeah. Yeah, like you say, it's one of those maps, isn't it, where there is such a large body of water surrounding it that you could literally, if you had a working boat, you could literally drive completely around the map. You could literally
Yeah,
drive a circle around the entire map, which you can't do that on Chernarus. Chernarus, the water ends at some point. You end up in debug and your boat stops working. So I think that would be quite unique as well, because we haven't had that before. Having a map with that ability where you can literally circumnavigate the entire map
yeah.
in
But
something like a boat.
But I think this is the cause because the boats don't have a very high priority on the expansion team to get the bug fixed on it, because Generous and Livonia don't need the boats as important as for the island. So I think they
Yeah.
have other priorities in fixing other bugs. But unfortunately, I'm really looking forward for the day when they're going to fix the boats.
Yeah, yeah, it's gonna be really good. I think when they split those mods up and get everything sort of updated separately, they can work on that a lot more. Then it'll free them up with a lot, so it'll be pretty good. And like you say, with the Deer Isle map having all these islands, it'll be perfect. But it's really good from my perspective as a player as well, who sort of jumped into Deer Isle at the very beginning and then didn't really touch it again until a few months ago. To see how far it's come, to see the changes. I used to have to swim everywhere, whereas now there's so many roads with little bridges and ways to go around, and there's so many other little islands in between, so you can sort of swim from island to island and then, wring out your clothes and things. It's really good to see, and so, like you say, so many hidden little gems, like an underground prison at somewhere on the map and things like that is, makes it so much more interesting.
This is the place I can show you. I'm currently working on these little islands up there where I want to try to get some tropical flair in it.
Wow.
Just
Those trees look
give
really
me a
cool.
second. I'm just looking for a place. Where was it? Okay. So if you have all those little islands around there where you have really nice beaches where you can have a campfire there, and
Like a
all
proper
these
white sandy
islands,
beach.
yeah, exactly. And those little islands are some kind connected, so you really don't have to swim everywhere. At some points, you have the floor raised up to just 1 meter water level, so you can walk some ways between all those beaches up there and don't have to swim everywhere. So
Yeah.
you can
That
you can
looks
also
awesome.
walk.
That looks really cool.
Mm.
And this is another, I would say, eye candy project up there where you have some more wrecks of ships which stranded there. But it's not finished. I'm currently working on that, but I think this is just another area which gives some changes to the other parts of the map.
And again, that it seems so different to anything else we've seen before. Every map has a coast to some degree, but the coasts on most maps seem to be very similar to Chernarus in the way the beach looks. It's like a pebble beach with, that doesn't look, particularly pleasing compared to what it could. Whereas some of this actually looks like there's actual white sand on the beach. It actually looks, the foliage and the trees look much nicer. It doesn't look, I mean, you can see the textures there in the sand. It actually looks like sand as opposed to just a rocky area.
I like that.
That looks really nice. And
Always
were
found
you
the
the
sea.
first? Sorry, go on, Ben.
I was just gonna say I've always found the sea very underutilized.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I really like the idea of islands.
And I think part of that's with the oil rigs as well. I mean, before Deer Isle, I never played on a server with oil rig. Were you the first one to do oil rigs, really, Benny? Was Deer Isle sort of the first map that ever really utilized oil rigs? Because I don't remember seeing them before.
I think we've lost sound from him. Yeah, we
I
have.
can't hear you, Ben.
Can't hear, mate.
Sorry, now again.
Yeah, can hear you
Hello?
now.
Yeah, we can hear you now. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. What did I say right now?
We
I
asked
don't
about the
know
oil rig.
if I am the first one who put oil rigs in there. I don't know. It was just I got bored again building the standard villages. And so I thought to myself, okay, what can you build if you take all those assets and maybe rotate them in other directions and stick them together like Lego?
Yeah.
And the result was the first oil rig. I think this one. I'm not sure about it. But like I said before, it was some kind of, I got bored, I got a new idea. Okay, so work on something you have fun working on.
Yeah. I mean, I don't remember a time where before where there were oil rigs until I started playing on Deer Isle when it was very early in development. I had never seen an oil rig in DayZ before. I know a few maps now utilize them, and a few servers have added them as an extra, but it does seem like such a new thing, something that wasn't really around before, that was so unique and
Maybe on Arma, on
possibly.
some kind of Arma maps, maybe.
Possibly, but then
don't know.
I never played Armour, so I never had that experience. But I think as far as DayZ standalone is concerned, there were I don't think there were any oil rigs prior to Deer Isle. So it's really cool to see something new like that. And like I say, Deer Isle's one of those maps where there are so many hidden gems, like you say, where you've got on board doing the standard sticking a house down, water pumps, the standard village building. So you've decided to do something different, and I think it's worked out fantastically because, like I say, there are so many
Oh, thank you.
different areas. Like you say, like you've got the oil rigs, you've got the Mayan temple ruins area, you've got the new underground military bunker with a key card access door, things like that. It's such a unique map.
Have we lost sound again?
No, it's okay. I was
Oh,
just
sorry.
thinking about something. Sorry.
I mean, there shows it perfectly. That that temple is such a unique thing. You don't. That's not. That is not on any other map that I have ever seen.
That's insane.
I think what I really have to say at this point is a very, very big thank you to all the D Island donators and Patreons. Because without them, I couldn't buy the assets for those kind of areas and stuff like that. So I have a Patreon site for the island where you can become a Patreon, and I use all this money for improving the map in all kind of way. I took some money to create some tools to making working on the island a little bit easier, to skip some time-consuming steps. And
Yeah.
I'm also want to have locations like the temple, and so I'm looking on the internet of cool assets which maybe fit into DayZ. Okay, you can argue if the temple is a kind of DayZ thing, but I like the idea of have something mystical also too. But in the end, I couldn't get those objects, textures, and stuff if I didn't have the people behind, which are believing in a good working map and want to also have new locations. So at this point, thank you all. I love you.
I mean, that's the thing, isn't it? As well, it's such a community-driven project that
Yeah,
it's
definitely.
there's no. I think that makes it all the more impressive that you don't have some big studio behind you, or you're not part of some massive multi-million-dollar company and you're just a part of a big team that's creating something. You've literally done this essentially all by yourself. Granted, you've had help here or there, you've had other
Yeah, in the
people that
beginning
have
there was a
advised
second.
you.
Yeah, in the beginning there was a second person, Tiltman. He was
Yeah.
also very talented and did good stuff. Tiltman was the person who built the complete Portland city in the north.
Right.
It's done by Tiltman, and I think have done a really great job in
Yeah.
working on details, and I was really impressed. But in the end, it was all so time-consuming that at one point he said, "Hey, it's too much. I don't have the necessary time to work on the map." But I can use his work for the island. And so thank you very much to Tiltman, who's
Yeah,
added some stuff on the map in a really nice way.
absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it's such a cool area of the map as well that he's created. It's again being so far up north as well. It's it's so cool to see such new areas like that come up. And like you say, being that it's only been mostly you, bit of him. I know you've had help from obviously people in the that have given you advice here or there, but
Yeah,
you've
most of the time
essentially built it
scripters
yourself.
and so on. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, obviously, it's a it's a community project. Lots of people have helped, but I think the fact that you have essentially worked on this by yourself, to the most part, you've done the actual physical legwork, so to speak, on it really speaks volumes. It's quite an impressive thing to do. I wouldn't know where to start, not even close.
I'm really surprised by myself because this is the first project I'm working for such a long time now. I think there has never been something else in my life where I invested so much time in just one thing, really.
It's very impressive, and to see that you're still going, and like you say, something that you've created so many new things like the temples, the underground bunkers and things that are so unique. It's really cool to see that there's someone out there that's doing something so very different to how a lot of other people are doing things with their development of maps and things.
It's like
Yep.
you said in the beginning, a lot of people start these projects thinking it's
Yeah.
a lot easier than it is. They don't realise that something like that, there, the temple, for instance, could have hundreds of hours put into it.
Yeah, I think I needed about 3 months until the
There you
temple
go.
was really finished because in the end, the amount of assets is not high. It's only a few objects which are repeatedly used again and again, just in some other direction or rotation. And
Random.
it really took a long time to put those few assets into some way together that it doesn't only look copy pasted.
Yeah, random or natural.
And
Yeah.
it's also nice to get a bit of a break from um, Russia, Eastern Europe, Eastern Europe. Something that's a bit different. Just it's fresh. It helps keep DayZ alive, not going stale.
Change of vegetation and all that brings in more than people think. So camo gear starts changing, all kinds of
Yeah.
stuff like that. PvP in an area like that is be very intense with all those trees. I love maps with loads of vegetation. I love them.
Some it doesn't.
Well,
Yeah, Summit's not a big fan of trees, but we just won't invite him to our Deer Isle party when we go to the temple and have a party at the temple next.
give him the initial terrain of Deer Isle with just nothing on it. Flat land.
Yeah.
You know what?
Bang him in the middle of Stonington and leave him there. He'll be happy.
You know, the really annoying thing in working with DayZ tools and Terra Builder and putting areas like the temple or KMU together is that the tools, the Terra Builder is very old software back to Arma 2. And Bohemian is using it for years now. And the Terra Builder has never improved with additional tools and helpers like you would have in other 3D software like Blender. So you don't have snapping, which is such a basic thing you need if you want to stick such buildings together like the temple. Unfortunately, you have really put all those objects pixel by pixel by dragging the mouse into the editor, and it's so annoying because you don't have these kind of helpers like snapping, or you can't do stuff you are used from other softwares.
Yeah, I've done a little bit, tiny little bit of
Yeah.
like mapping stuff myself, and I've experienced these problems. It's not fun. Like
Have you
I
used
don't.
Implement's Dabs editor?
You know, I can show you a really nice example of this missing snapping thing, which makes it so really annoying. If you go to the KMUK Underground Center, there's the basic walls from the subway. Let me check here. they don't have a thickness. It's really just one plane. And you have to stick all those little planes together. And if you don't have the correct angel, you could look through the wall if they don't stick together.
Yeah.
And while in Blender, you can easily snap all those things together within seconds. You really need minutes just placing one tile to the exact pixel position you need without having the holes and look-throughs there.
How long did it take you from the start of the development of that underground military complex? How long did it take you to start to where it is today to create that? Because it seems like such a massive like I say, I've been down there. It's such a massive undertaking. It's such a huge underground area. It's like a maze. I can only imagine it took you a very, very long time.
Let me check my Discord channel. There's a work in progress showcase, and I can scroll back to the point where I first posted the first screenshot of it. Just wait a second, just so I can estimate the time.
Yeah, because on our server, we're looking at doing an event that's going to involve going there, getting a key card, actually getting in there. Obviously, the timer on the doors closing and things. So it's really going to be. I went down there in admin tools to kind of have a look around, and I didn't realize how absolutely huge. I got lost. If I hadn't had admin tools, I was gone. I was dead because there was no way I was getting out of there. My sense of direction is terrible.
Yeah, it's a pretty nice labyrinth, but there are different ways you can go down and up. I think there shouldn't be any dead ends at all. There are always two ways you can go to one
Yeah.
point. So you always have the possibility as a player to go another way around, maybe so you can't get stuck too much in. But yeah, it's a very labyrinthy and lost place to go there. But to answer his question, I started working on the Kmuke at end of August this year. So
Oh,
we have
wow.
September, October, and 2 months.
That's pretty impressive as well, though, to do everything, to do all of that. Like I say, I've been down there. I've seen how extensive it is to do all of that in such a short amount of time, and to even have the thought in your mind of, look, I want to place this specific thing here. Things like the different military bits, the different bunkers, and the different things that you can sort of put in there, the different buildings. It's amazing that you would have the thought to actually put some of these things in and where to put them, because they fit so well, especially with the train and the train tracks and things like that.
Yeah, sometimes I buy some assets, but don't know at the time when I buy them where and how I want to use them on the map. So I keep them on the side since I know there's definitely a project coming where I can put those assets in. And for example, the subway, I got those assets maybe or half a year ago, but building a real subway system on the island wasn't possible because of the DayZ engine restriction relating underground areas. You always have to cover them with some ugly looking pieces, so it's always hard to make nice looking underground stuff.
Yeah.
But since I know I want to have a really big, deep military in the Kmuke Mount Katahdin complex, I know, this is maybe a good place where I can create a little subway part where I can use those assets. But to be honest, the Kmuke is just half of the deep it's going to be in the end. So we are currently just at 50% of the underground complex.
Wow.
Which is going to grow because I want to have the lowest part of the Kmuke on sea level.
Wow.
And the mountain is 500 meters high, and currently the deepest point in the Kmuke military is at half of it, 250. But it's going to get much, much deeper. But I won't tell when those additional tunnels and systems are coming. They will be there without telling anyone, because I want to experience the player that they can find it in accident.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
That's cool.
that's crazy incredible though. That I mean, it's already such a huge complex under there as it is, and to think that you're planning on literally doubling it so far,
Yeah,
like
as you can see, we
that's
have got
crazy.
some hay left. I think we are now at let me see, 220 meters, and this is going to be on sea level in the end in
So
January, maybe.
you're literally going to double it essentially.
Yeah.
That is crazy. You're going to need to update the timer on the door. There's no way that you're going to be able to do 90 minutes to get through all of that,
Yeah.
especially once you double it. I think it'll be difficult enough now. I love though that you've included on the on your website the actual code itself and how the step-by-step instructions on how to actually change the timers on the door and
Yeah.
things like that. Change those different things.
Luckily, B Master, this was the guy who was coding the security of our system, had the idea of putting all the settings into external JSON file for the server owner so that everyone can configure the timers on how much time the door stays open and closes again by themselves, because I knew everyone is thinking different what they see gameplay settings are. And so it's the easiest way so every server owner can set up those settings by themselves and don't hard code it in there.
Yeah. I think that's absolutely brilliant, especially for when it comes to server owners doing events on servers and things. You can just go in and change how long it takes for that door to automatically close. So you make it either easier or more difficult for players to actually, get out of there and thing. I think it's absolutely brilliant. But when it comes to that actual underground complex, I've noticed there's a lot of sort of small military crates around that don't seem to spawn anything. Is that something that is going to be changed? Is that something we can change now or change in the future?
They should spawn. So maybe, I don't know on which server you are playing, because all of the military crates in the KMUK center are spawning military stuff in the end. At least they should.
Right. Ideal. No, so it's probably just the way our server owner's got things set up at the moment. His wife's not long had a baby, so he's not had much time to update things recently. So we've only just in the last couple of weeks actually got
Okay.
anything spawning in the KMUK. So
Maybe
he's a little bit
he
behind.
forgot to update some proto file or stuff like that.
Yeah, he knows a lot more about that than I do. I just do the community thing and tell people to shut up. He does all the more important stuff. He does the
But
stuff
yeah,
that he knows.
you should be able to find stuff there right now.
Yeah, it's such an incredible spot. I mean, I remember running into the there's an underground prison not far from Group's Hill, I believe. I remember way back
Oh yeah,
when
this is just a
finding
mistake I
that.
forgot to erase.
It was such an amazing area.
Really? I don't think so. But okay, because I just wanted to see how the prison is looking if I put all the prison underground and just leave the top entrance out there. And at some point, I just forgot to remove this test project again, but it seems the player like it, so okay, leave it in.
Well, yeah, I mean, when I first ever discovered Deer Isle, I stumbled upon it by chance. I played on a community server that had a trader camp at Group's Hill, so I happened to have to run past that prison to get between my base and the trader camp. And I remember just running through the middle of a field one day and looking over, and going, "Hang on, that looks like the top spire bit of the prison building at Prison Island." I was like, surely there's not an entire underground prison location. And then I went down there and spent hours looking around. I thought, like, it's incredible that you would think to put something like that in, and you wouldn't know it was there unless you were looking for it.
I really forgot about this place.
It was the first location I ever found that was sort of secret like that, if you like. There was that sort of sneaky underground secret area like that.
Okay.
It's such a cool area. There's literally an entire prison building underneath the map, and I think that's absolutely incredible. And like I say, to see how far you've come now to creating the temple and the Kmuck and places like that and the mountains and things it's really incredible how far you've come in what seems to be such a short amount of time. I'm sure for you it seems like a lifetime, but
Yeah,
for the
definitely.
rest of us from the outside looking in, to think it's only been a couple of years that you've been working on this and you've done so much already, it's really quite incredible.
Thank you. Thank you.
It is really impressive. I absolutely love Deer Isle. I know a lot of people do. And like I say, one of our things we're talking about today is how there seems to be an uptick in the amount of servers running Deer Isle at the moment. I know I've had a DM off someone. Obviously, I'm not going to say who it was, but I did have a conversation with someone recently that runs a Deer Isle server that's actually getting a little bit annoyed because they're not getting as many people in their server because there's so much variety now. It's a good thing in a way. There is so many more people using it, and so many more people are going to get that opportunity to use such a great map.
I think this is some kind of common problem what those amount of servers are. Um, even it's the Isle or Generous or Livonia, because everyone wants to host its own server, and I
Yeah.
can completely understand because I would do the same. Because I think there's not much more fun than setting up an own world you want to play in, which fits 100% your gameplay setting. But unfortunately, if every player wants to have his own server, we have so much servers
Yeah.
which are so populated.
Yeah, we see a lot of that
Um,
now. There's a lot of servers out there, and it's very well, I say it's very easy. I wouldn't know where to start, but from what I can gather, from what I've seen, with different people posting guides and things, it's so easy to get a server set up. Probably not so easy to run it overall, but to actually get one set up and get that first bit of gameplay done, it's far more accessible and easy than it used to be to do that. So
yeah.
I think it makes sense that we're seeing such an uptick, and with so many modded maps, like you say, with Deer Isle, Chimsey, Essica, Valning, maps like that. There are so many coming to the forefront now that are, like Boydie said, just having that change from Chernarus or Livonia just really adds a different dynamic to the DayZ gameplay, regardless of what your regardless of what your gameplay style is. It's really good.
Yeah, definitely.
I love seeing a bit of variety. You can't go wrong with it. Right, let's see if we can get on to our topics for the week. Again, not as many that are coming through from Twitter this week. Last week our agenda was all on Twitter. We could literally nothing was anywhere else pretty much, but we've actually branched out to YouTube and to Steam this week to get some more stories. So let me see if I can fathom sharing my screen so that we can all see what's going on. I think that should have popped up there. So the first topic for today, and I know this is one that a lot of people are going to be quite interested and vocal in, but it's from OG Levant, and it's note for DayZ server owners, please add an option to remove branding for streamers. God damn. So basically what he's going on here is when you go onto some community servers, there will be a big thing where there'll be like a big brand, like a big logo for that server somewhere on the screen. And I think it's also kind of counts as well for the clothing items as well. A lot of
Mhm.
servers will have, big logos and things on their starting gear. And I think it's two different arguments. I think having a big logo on the screen somewhere is different to having an in-game item like a jacket or something. I know with Ben's server, you've got things like custom weaponry, like the BWAF 50 cal boxed ammo that you can find. Things like that I love. I absolutely love things like that because it's like a little Easter egg, but also a cheeky bit of free advertising if if a streamer finds it. But there are so many servers out there now with such massive logos on, in the top corner of the screen that if you're a big streamer, if you're trying to play on a server, you really love a certain server, but they've got a massive thing like that, a massive logo there, you're kind of almost you are really risking being stream sniped because you're not able to hide what server you're on. And I think that's where OG Levant is coming from in saying that, that I'm all for advertising. At the end of the day, the people who run these servers and who create maps and create mods and things like that, more often than not, are doing it because it's a passion project. They're not looking to make millions and millions off it. They're just looking to do something fun that they enjoy, and they're doing it for the good of the community. So I think there needs to be some kind of balance there, and I like the idea that Levant's put having some sort of setting within the game where you can actually, for that server, turn off that branding for logos on the screen and things like that. I think is a brilliant idea.
See, one of the queries I have on this is almost becoming a moot point, whether they've got an explicit server logo, but with all the servers now having custom items and things like that, like if someone's running along and they find Gamer Girl bathwater, well, anyone who knows DayZ servers well knows that's going to be Blue Waffle. And day one servers got custom stuff that's unique to that server. So I understand where he's coming from, but at the same time, a lot of money and effort goes into this, and the streamers are getting to play on these servers for free.
Yeah.
It's you're kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't. I feel for him. Like Ben, you had this issue on your server.
Yeah. I mean, you have to strike a balance. I mean, first of all, depending on what server we're talking about here, obviously, streamers are not the biggest percentage of your player base. It's your community, and you're trying to provide a unique place for your community, and they want unique things. They want to see their branding or their name on something or whatever. In this day and age, it's really hard to hide what server you're on if you're a streamer. Even if you be right back every screen, everything else, people can find out. So ultimately, you can't say, right, I'm not going to brand anything on my server in case there's a streamer on here, because that won't make a difference. They can look at the position of the sun and work out what time of day it is on the server and find out that way. That said, you can strike a balance. So I will call it personally, I think, a mistake putting a on-screen logo in the top right of the screen one time. I think we had it for about a week before I took it off, realizing that all you had to do if you was looking at stream snipe somebody on there was immediately, as soon as you went on Twitch, obviously because of thumbnails, you could immediately see the logo in the corner. So you knew before you'd even gone on the stream that person was on the server. So I took it off, and in hindsight, it was a bad thing. Also, we did used to spawn people in a branded T-shirt, so immediately, as soon as the character spawned in, you knew what server they were on. So I removed that. So now, like you said, you can find branded stuff on my server. It's your choice whether you pick it up, examine it, and look at it. Anybody who's been on my server long, for a little amount of time, soon knows what's branded and what isn't, and they can avoid it as a streamer. But yeah, ultimately, you can't hide it. What server somebody's on. Anyway, so you can't pander just to streamers.
No, I agree. I think that's one of the good things about your server as well is you do have branded items and unique items to your server, and I think part of that is why your servers have been quite popular as well over the years. So I think it's a good thing. I think you've got a very good balance. But I do agree that there are, like you say, there are so many servers out there now that have got those big, those big logos that you can see on Twitch the second you look through a DayZ stream, through the DayZ category. And I think it doesn't necessarily invite stream sniping. I think stream snipers are going to be stream snipers regardless. But
yeah.
I think for me, it's one of those things where I'm such a smaller streamer that I fly so under the radar that, as far as I'm aware, I have never been stream sniped. Not that, or at least if I have, I haven't noticed, which is probably more likely that I just haven't noticed. So for me, it's never really an issue. And when it comes, like I say, I tend to, if I'm switching servers, then I've got a specific scene set up on my Streamlabs OBS that just puts my webcam there and my chat box and things, so that it hides my screen, so it doesn't show what server I'm on. But I think it is important to have that branding, like you say, to foster that sense of community. It's a cool thing when you go on a server and you run into the first town and you find a big jacket with the logo on it to a degree. I think that is cool because for me, whenever I see that, I kind of think, right, well, this server's clearly, into their community. This server knows what they're talking about. They're actually trying to do something cool for their community. That's a good thing.
You're
So
separating yourself from every other server when you're
yeah,
doing that. You're
and
trying to anyway.
yeah, and like we say, there's so many servers out there now. You have to do something a little bit different to a degree in order to actually have a chance of having a decent sort of thing going on. So I kind of get what you're saying. I think it's wrong to have. I think it's not a good idea. I don't want to say wrong. It's not a good idea to have like big logos up on the screen, but things like Boydie said, with like the Gamer Girl Bathwater, the BWAF 50 cal rounds in that custom box, I think that's fine. I think that's brilliant. But having like big logos on screens, I think it is gonna, as good as it is for the community at the time, it is gonna automatically cause issues, I think. So I think having, just like say, just a little tick box or something like that in the settings to turn off,
Yeah.
things like that. You're not going to be able to do that for things like jackets or whatever
No.
with the branding on it. But just for the actual on-screen logos themselves, unless you're working out a deal with a server where you're a big streamer and you say, look, I want to come and play on your server, can we work out a deal of some sort? And then they put their logo on your logo on their stream specifically to say, look, I am playing on this server, I'm doing an event on this server, I'm partnered with this server in order to do that. Then I think that becomes a different kettle of fish, so to speak. But yeah, I do kind of agree.
To do for somebody to just take that logo on and off the screen.
Yeah,
and it make particular streamers' lives a lot easier, just because then that logo wouldn't be straight away obvious in the Twitch thumbnails.
Yeah, like you say, those thumbnails are a little bit of a pain in the arse at times, depending on the server you're playing on. But
Isn't it a big thing for a streamer to use some time delay of their streamings, or what's the problem if they do so?
I think some streamers do stream with a delay. But I think the issue is then that even if they're running with a delay, the logo will still be on the screen. If a server has it so that the logo is actually on screen at all times, albeit small and in the top corner, it's still going to be there at all times. So it kind of doesn't, no matter what the streamer does, unless they crop their screen down for their stream, they're never going to be able to hide it.
The problem with delays as well, especially in DayZ, you're often trying to communicate with your chat and interact with your chat.
Yeah.
And if they're 5-10 minutes behind what's going on, you can't have any interaction with them.
Yeah. I don't bother streaming with a delay because, like you say, I want to be able to speak to people as their messages come up. I want to be able to actually have a conversation with them. And at the same time, I'm not a big enough streamer to warrant needing any sort of delays or any sort of, anything like that. So
I think delays are way less common now than they used to be.
Yeah, it used to be pretty much. I mean, when I first started streaming about 2 years ago, I mean, that was all I would see. Everyone was like, "Oh, you have to have a delay on your stream." Everyone I spoke to was like, "You must have a delay," and I just never bothered with it because, especially like if I'm not big enough to warrant being stream sniped now, then I certainly haven't been at any point in the past. So there doesn't seem to be any point in doing it. Like I say, if you're a streamer, you're trying to have that sense of community. You're trying to speak to people. You're trying to have that
Yeah, this kind of
you know,
live
you know, that,
interaction.
yeah,
Yeah.
you want that interaction, and I can understand why big streamers will have, especially in a lot of first person PvP games.